everyone, Aaron Hendon with Christine & Company. Welcome back to our vlog. I'm sitting here outside the hardware store restaurant on beautiful Vashon Island. It is pretty much the, it's the corner of Main Street here, Bank and Vashon Highway. It is the cornerstone restaurant of the island. It's my family, when they first moved to the island, I wasn't here yet. They ate here for the first time. More deals get signed here. It's the heart of the island. It's been here the longest, and I had the privilege of interviewing the owner, Melinda Powers, the one who started it all, and she's going to give you her take on, everything about what started it, what's behind it, just so that you can know really what's here on Vashon. She is really the heart of Vashon. So, without any further ado, I'd like to bring you Melinda. Thanks.
I had no idea that I would ever be doing a restaurant on Vashon Island, but one day the hardware store, they decided they were going to close it, and it went on the market. So everybody was saying, what's going to happen with this big building? I mean, this is a big building for Vashon, and we didn't really have any restaurants on Vashon at the time. We had a Mexican food restaurant, and that was about it.
And when was that?
That was in 2003. And so it's always been in the back of my mind that I wanted to do it. What were you doing at the time? Well, I was actually sort of in a rare moment. I had owned an interior design firm for 25 years in Arizona. I had recently moved to Vashon. I married a man who lived on Vashon and moved my family here. And so I was sort of in between. I'd retired from interior design. I still had this dream that I'd had for 30 years of doing a restaurant, but never found the right place. So I was peeking in the windows here one day and just like, what could this be? And it was just like one of those aha moments. It was like, oh my gosh, we need a restaurant. And we really did need a restaurant on Vashon, but more than a restaurant, we needed a gathering place. Yeah. There was nowhere for people to come together. And so I had just finished reading a book called The Great Good Place. So Great Good Place, just tells about how a healthy community needs great gathering places for their community members. So we didn't have that. I mean, the grocery store was the closest thing we had to that. So I thought, let's do it. Let's put this together. And anyway, it was much, much, much harder than I ever imagined for a lot of reasons. It's a big place. It's about 5,000 square feet, and it was an endeavor that no one had ever taken. Nobody had ever tried to open a restaurant of this scale on Vashon. And quite frankly, restaurants didn't do well on Vashon. So they'd go out of business, and so people thought I was crazy. They thought there's just no way Vashon could support this. But that's like, all right, so look, I started a restaurant, and you're trying to lay out the pro forma, the business model for it, and you're anticipating meal counts and turnover. Exactly.
And,
No, I did a kick-ass business plan, and
everyone's going,
this will never work. You're crazy. Don't do it. Don't do it. And I mean, I couldn't raise money to do it. Nobody wanted to give me money. The banks, they'd say, how many restaurants have you owned? I'd say, none.
And how many in their sense have made it? None.
None.
So let's go do that.
Yeah, let's go do that. So anyway, sort of a miracle happened, and I did have one backer who stepped up, one person in the community. And so I was on my way. I had negotiated for the space, and I couldn't afford to buy it, so they let me rent it. The very next day, they got a full price cash offer and turned it down. Yeah, because they believed in my vision for the community. Isn't that great? Yeah, so it was really always about the vision for the community. Yeah, we had nothing in writing. We had a handshake.
Melinda,
and the next day.
Come on, that is so great.
Yeah, isn't that cool?
That is really cool.
Yeah.
That's like my favorite part.
Yeah, and so, and I bought it from the daughter of the man who started this over 100 years ago. So eventually,
how long have you owned it?
So I've had it now for 14 years.
No, but I mean, when did you wind up buying the building?
Oh, so I just bought it in the last few years. Yeah. So anyway, they worked with me. They made it affordable. We changed the deal multiple times because it took so long to establish the restaurant. Yeah. So it took me 2 years. after we had that agreement to start
to build it out.
So to build it out, because it was really tough to get my permits, and so in the meantime I opened a retail store. I had a retail store because that wasn't a change of use, so it didn't trigger any King County regulations, and so I was able to do that. So I sold wine, art, Italian scooters, and I called it designer salvage furniture. So this whole place was filled. And then I also catered, like we would hold events here. So we sort of started, building this kind of a community treasure chest just by inviting the community in, having something viable here to keep the lights on. And I mean, I had rent to pay. I had to do something. So it took 2 years. I did that for 2 years.
And you were doing that while you were getting permits and buying furniture and lining up?
Yep. Doing my business plan and working with the county, which was kind of crazy, but finally, eventually we got it. We got our permits, then remodeled, then opened. So
that's great. Well, so that's a really good thing, because a lot of people talk to me about permits of all kinds on the island are like, in my experience, something of a third world country kind of. If you go when the right person's at lunch, you can get something signed, and if you go when the wrong person is there, you can't get it signed. Is that how that was?
Well, it was back then. I think it's better now.
It's not.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I don't know. I've sort of blocked all that out. But I will say that I worked with them for so long. I got to know them.
Yes.
And once I did get the permit, they were very happy. They applauded me for sticking with it. And so there were just some really weird requirements that were triggered by the change of use that we had to work through. But anyway,
so great.
Once we got it, we opened and we opened to a very successful. It was just people came immediately. And it just continued to build over the years. And it's not to say, I mean, there were times where I just wondered if we could make it. There were really tough times, as there typically are in the restaurant business. It is my first restaurant. I had a lot to learn, but we made it.
It's so great.
We've gotten to that point now where we're a success, and our vision is continually enriched by just our customers and friends who come in.
And that's the vision, though, right? Is to continually be enriched by the community.
I mean, I just have so many stories of amazing customers who've come in. And,
like what? Give us what you want.
So one day there was a couple sitting at the bar, and they were talking about their trip to New York City. And my bartender said, "Oh, that's just my dream. I've always wanted to go." And one of my servers was back there, and she's like, "Me too. It's my dream." My customers took them. They paid their full expenses and took them to New York City with them. They paid for airfare, they paid hotel, they paid all their meals, and they took a couple of my employees and just did it. We had one employee, an older man, who overheard one of my servers trying to arrange financing for college. He gave her a check for $2,500 on the spot, to help her. So just stories like that, and then people meeting, and people have their own stories, of how they met and got married, and we've had people looking to move here to buy a house, and they'll come in and they'll get to know us, and people have said, I wouldn't even consider buying a house if there wasn't a restaurant like this in my community. So I think people see the value of having a place that we're open every day. We're open for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. We only close on Christmas Day. People know that. They don't have to think, oh, is the hardware store open today? We're always here for them. So
that's great.
It's a commitment we've made, and people appreciate that commitment.
That's so great, Melinda. And what's currently like a challenge, so I think a lot of people have in the background the sort of romantic notion of opening a restaurant. I mean, you did, right? You didn't know what it was going to be. You were a designer. You had it wasn't like, So a lot of people have that notion. What are some of the day-to-day challenges of having the restaurant on the island that you face? That you think, given you've never had one off the island?
I have had one off the
island.
Oh, you
have?
But yeah.
Oh, I thought you said this was your first.
Well, this was my first, but I opened a second
up
in Seattle. I decided not to renew my lease because it was too much for me, because I commuted every day. And I missed it here. I was never here. But there are a lot of challenges, A, just having a restaurant, and B, having one on an island. I mean, we have a limited pool of employees from which to choose. We have a great crew now. A lot of our crew they've been here 10 years.
Yeah.
We don't have a lot of turnover. But just getting food, if you have a restaurant in Seattle, you can get food delivered every day. We get it twice a week here. So, we have to be careful how we order. And yeah, when we're out, and we hate to be out. I mean, we run over to the grocery store and buy it at retail, so we don't have to be out. But there are challenges in living on an island, and just limited, employee resources.
Yeah, I would think that's the biggest one.
That's been the biggest one. I mean, when we first opened, it was tough. I mean, we've established ourselves now, and we have a great crew. I have 50 employees, so we have a well-seasoned crew now, which is great. It makes it easier.
How did you get the menu worked out? I mean, for yourself, given you hadn't had a restaurant before.
Yeah.
Who did the menu plan, the recipes? How did that all happen?
It was always a joint, effort with the kitchen staff.
Yeah.
I mean, I had a clear vision of what I wanted the menu to be, and I had eaten at several restaurants that I thought were great restaurants, and I kind of wanted to model it after that, and yet create our own thing. So, that really wasn't too hard, and I knew that we had to have something on it for everybody.
Yeah.
And something that people could come back again and again and not get tired of it, their favorites, so to speak. So we do change our menu twice a year, and then we have weekly specials that we are able to use fresh ingredients in season and keep it interesting.
Yeah.
So that changes.
That's great. All right, good. Well, is there anything else that I haven't asked about the place that I should have asked?
Well,
what do you want to tell me about it?
It's just an honor and a privilege to be here. We feel like we're right in the heart of the island, and it feels good to work hard and have a vision over and above just the day in, day out of what you're doing.
Yeah.
My employees really appreciate that. They all know what our mission statement is. They all know why we're here, and they like that.
Yeah.
It gives them sort of an added purpose, I think, in coming to work.
And like I said, just as a customer, not having known that, I can tell you it comes through in every way.
Oh, that's
just
nice.
in every way, from the whole. I mean, there's just that vibe, I mean, that's a really Vashon thing, right? The vibe, but it really is. It's got a and it frankly sets the tone for what a Vashon vibe is in a lot of ways for a lot of people.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, I think it's really. I really do appreciate that, just as a customer. All right, good. Any advice for people moving to the island or wanting to move to the island? Anything they should know about coming here?
Well, it's the greatest place to live. I mean, it's a privilege to live here. And there's a poem. I don't know if you've ever seen it. It's called "If Once You've Slept on an Island."
No.
But it starts out, "If once you've slept on an island, you'll never be quite the same." And it's true. I mean, it really changes you, and it's just a beautiful way to live.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
Melinda, thanks so much for taking the time to do this with me. And people have questions, they know where to find you. So it's always here.
My pleasure.
Excellent. Thanks.
Okay.